Hey everybody, welcome back to the Zero Hour. This time we're trying something different. We're both videoing it and we're audioing it. So you can check it out in two different places. Well, actually it'd be more than two. You can check it out wherever you're listening to your favorite podcast, and you can check it out online. So I'm going to talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. If you haven't seen this movie yet, really you need to. Ryan Coogler came back to direct. Most of the cast from the original one is back. The only thing, of course, is Chadwick Boseman, who, as we all know, passed away, unfortunately, to cancer. Now, the movie does a great job of paying some wonderful respect to his character. And, of course, at the end, they dedicate the film to him, which is really phenomenal. The movie introduces us to two brand new Marvel heroes that are going to be coming out. Well, one hero and one kind of a anti-hero, I guess, with Namor. Now, as many of you out there may know, Namor, of course, being Marvel's very first character, not only their very first, but also the very first mutant, and probably one of the more powerful characters that there actually is in the MCU now, also in the comic books when you think about it. He's kind of on the power level of Hulk. He's extremely, extremely strong. Most people don't realize just how powerful he is. And of course, when I'm talking Hulk, I'm just talking, regular Hulk. We're not talking about World Breaker Hulk or World War Hulk or, Insane This Hulk or whatever. We're just talking regular Hulk. But he is on the level of Hulk kind of strength. Like he's incredibly powerful. The character itself is well portrayed. It does a good job of capturing exactly who Namor is. Now, I don't know if any of you know about Namor in the sense of what he's like if you've been reading comics for a long time, but Namor is, well, to put it bluntly, he's a jackass. And quite frankly, he's a jackass in this too. So they got him pretty much spot on. Instead of him being ruler of Atlantis, he's ruler of a place called Talocan, which is just off the Yucatan Peninsula in the Atlantic Ocean, which is slightly different from, if you guys remember back in Iron Man 2, when Tony was sitting talking to Nick Fury, behind them at one point there was a map, and it showed different places on the world where there was different incidents and stuff like that. Anyway, one of them was in Africa, which ended up being Wakanda, and the other was in the Atlantic Ocean, but it was a little further south, and that's, again, what ended up being where technically Marvel's version of Atlantis is going to be, where Namor was from. It was one of those Easter eggs they threw in way back then, but anyway, they finally got around to showing it. The movie itself has it was an hour and it was 2 hours and 30 minutes or something. It was a long movie, and it really delves into a lot when it comes to the characters and how they dealt with the passing of course, T'Challa, and introducing Namor. They got into, the fact that Namor was born back in like the 16th century or something. Like he's an old character. He's been around a long time, but he's only now recently come about being shown because of actually Wakanda's actions in the first film. At the end, of course, of Black Panther, T'Challa announced Wakanda's presence to the world and really what they were, that they had vibranium and all this stuff. And the movie is about the rest of the world not being comfortable with that. And, of course, one of the parts of the rest of the world not being comfortable with it is, of course, Namor's people not being comfortable with the fact that they've been outed. The movie features Riri Williams, who is Ironheart. And Ironheart is a student at MIT. She designs a machine that can detect vibranium. And this machine, the Namor's people are afraid will alert the world to where they are, and they want to stay hidden. Initially, he tries to make a deal with Wakanda so that the two nations can kind of work together to protect each other, because it's the only two places in the world where vibranium is found. The movie, again, follows the fact that the two nations are kind of at odds on how to deal with Riri Williams. Namor's people want to basically kill her so that no one else can design one of these machines, and the Wakandans basically want to protect her. It leads to a conflict between the two, with kind of some other things getting involved. Everett Ross comes back. We find out that he's actually married to Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, Val, or was married, I should say, not is, but was. And he ends up basically betraying the U.S. so that he can help the Wakandans because they saved his life in the first movie and yada, 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 kind of stuff. It's all there. The movie, like I said, is fantastic. And the characters go along a really good path. There's a surprising cameo from Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger when Shuri goes into the spirit realm or whatever, when she starts to become the new Black Panther because she resynthesizes the original Herb, thanks in part to something Namor gave her, which is really funny. At the end of the movie, we learn that T'Challa had a son, and it kind of sets it up for the fact that, while he's gone, Shuri will be the Black Panther, and then hopefully at one point his son will become Black Panther and kind of take on the tradition. Namor was handled very well, I think. If you're a fan of the character, I think you'd be happy with how he was handled. Riri Williams is a character that has a lot of controversy surrounding her, especially when it comes to the comic books. In this movie, it's kind of like Shuri is kind of her mentor a little bit, whereas in the comic books, of course, it was Iron Man's AI when Tony Stark had uploaded his consciousness to AI when everybody thought he was dead for a while. It was that sort of, she designs a suit that's very reminiscent of Iron Man, and it's, at one point even like there's some FBI agents that are like, oh, she's got an Iron Man suit, it's her character is, I don't know, it's going to be one of those characters that's going to be interesting to see how it comes about. So whether or not it actually becomes something a little more interesting or not, I guess that's kind of what we're going to have to look at as time goes on. Of course, Ironheart does have her own series coming out later this year, I believe. Whether or not she's as interesting in that or not, I don't know. I'm not sure if they're even going to connect her more to Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man or not. But it will be interesting to see going forward how all this takes place and where everything sits. Of course, they haven't really dealt with a lot of interconnectivity in Phase 4. I think that's one of the things people have seemed to have had a problem with. Phase 4, of course, started with WandaVision, and it ended with the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. In that we've got Black Panther, we've got Shang-Chi, we've got Multiverse of Madness, we've got Spider-Man, we've got Loki, we've got Moon Knight, all these shows and TV, movies and everything that all kind of, but there's not a lot of interconnectivity between them. You don't see a lot of referencing the others, which is kind of, I guess, where Phase 1 was. When you go back and you look at Marvel Phase 1, they did a lot of the same thing. The movies weren't really interconnected. They hinted at things or whatever here and there a little bit, and they do in Phase 4. But Phase 1 was a building phase. It was like, okay, here's our heroes. Here's Iron Man. Here's Hulk. Here's Thor. Here's Captain America. Here's Black Widow. Here's Hawkeye. And then they all came together, of course, in the Avengers. Phase 2 built on that, and there was more interconnectivity. Phase 3 built on it even more with more interconnectivity. But with the way that Phase 3 ended with Endgame, of course, we're right back to, well, we need to introduce all these new characters, and we need to introduce all these new people and how they connect to each other and how they're going to interconnect to each other. And there's lots of hints and groundwork that's been built. And at the same time, there's connections to the previous phases. So Marvel is stuck at a point right now where that's what they're doing, is they're building again. And I think a lot of people have been quite harsh with Phase 4, and there's no need to be. It's building on what came before, and it's starting anew. So it's kind of like an elevator where, you know, you go up so many floors and it stops, but then you get off and you move to another part of the building to go up, especially in skyscrapers where you go to another elevator to go up even more. And that's because if it's just stacked so high, you know, people need a jumping on point, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Phase 4 is that jumping on point for people. They can jump in and they can go, okay, well, this is what happened before, and they can take their time and watch what came before and catch up, but they don't need to necessarily see everything because it's not all that relevant. Whereas with Phase 4, they're building. So here's a new character. Here's Ms. Marvel. Here's Moon Knight. Here's She-Hulk. Here's Hawkeye. Here's Thor, you know. So you've got a couple of characters that have come before, but at the same time, here's these new ones. And we're going to build up, of course, to the culmination of Phases 4, 5, and 6, which is Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, and, of course, Secret Wars. And we know that Kang's going to be the big bad, and we get introduced to him in Loki as He Who Remains, but he's not Kang. He's a version of Kang. I mean, Kang we're going to really finally meet at the start of Phase 5 here when Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania comes out. So at that point, you're going to really start to see even more connectivity to what came before. And that's the important part. And when you look at Black Panther, there's a lot of building here, but a lot of continuation at the same time. They continue T'Challa's legacy. They build on T'Challa's legacy, but at the same time, they're building towards something new. And that's what makes this movie fantastic. That's what makes this movie good. Ryan Coogler did an amazing job with this movie, just like he did with the first one. There's a lot of really cool things in it. The effects are fantastic. The casting was great. I don't really know what it, you know, there's I don't really know what else to say about the characters in without spoiling too much of the movie for people. And I'm assuming that most Marvel fans by this point have seen it, but if you're not, I don't want to spoil it all. It's just that Phase 5 is coming, and when Phase 5 comes, we're going to get even more connectivity to what came before, and that's a good thing. And that shows that Marvel is still building this incredible universe that we've come to watch and love over the last, 15 years, you know? So we're talking a long time. There is, with Phase 5, of course, there's lots of rumors of what we're going to see. You know, we've got Secret Invasion coming up. We've got Ant-Man and the Wasp. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Of course, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to be the last time we see those particular Guardians together. Whether or not they all survive, who knows? Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, you know, they're hinting strongly in that trailer that we're not going to see Ant-Man after that he's going to die. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to introduce Adam Warlock. You know, we're going to see Secret Invasion, and there's Chloe Bennett, who played Quake in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., hinted strongly that we may either see her in that or coming back because of it. Of course, with the Marvels, we're going to get, you know, her, of course. We're going to get Ms. Marvel. We're going to get Monica Rambeau. And that cast is going to come together. And that, we're going to kind of see how, I would assume they're going to show us how Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel switched places at the end of the Ms. Marvel show. So there's lots of things that's going to continue on, and they're going to show us even more stuff, which is great. There's rumors that, Secret Invasion, what we're building towards at the end of Phase 6, is going to bring back literally as many Marvel characters as they possibly can. I mean, it's been described on the level of Endgame, only bigger. And when I say every Marvel character, I mean, like, we're talking all the characters from the Fox universe. We're talking all the characters from Sony, like all those Spider-Mans, all the X-Men, everybody that's ever been a Marvel character before. They're trying to come back to this Secret Wars, because Secret Wars is supposed to be this grand pulling of characters from all over the multiverse to fight. And the funny part about that is that we know Chris Evans is coming back. in some form, he's coming back as Captain America. We know that. He's agreed to another appearance as Captain America. There's even the possibility he's mentioned wanting to come back as Johnny Storm from when he played Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four 1 and 2 when Fox was doing those. So there's a chance we may even see him as that, which would be kind of funny seeing him playing Johnny Storm and Captain America at the same time if they did it in Secret Wars. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is rumored to be coming back as Iron Man again, not the same Iron Man we know, but a different Iron Man from a different, universe so that he can be in Secret Wars. Like, there's so much that we're building towards that it'll be interesting to really see how they go about doing it. And with all the new characters we're being introduced to, of course, we're going to get a new Avengers team. We're going to get, because we've got Captain America 4 coming, called New World Order. And, we've managed to get, of course, William Hurt, who played General Thaddeus Ross, passed away, and replacing him in the MCU is going to be Harrison Ford. It'll be really interesting to see Harrison Ford in the MCU, especially if they go and they make him Red Hulk, as, they're hinting at. We're going to get to see so many. There's a Black Widow 2 that's going to be coming. We're seeing so many things that are continuations of what will be built on in Phase 4. So Phase 4 has got a lot that it's offered and a lot of stuff that people have kind of hemmed and hawed at. People complained about She-Hulk, but at the same time, She-Hulk did so much for what it did in the comics. Like, it's extremely comic book accurate. I know a lot of people didn't like the show, but it's comic book accurate. It delves into what She-Hulk is like in the comics. Deadpool 3. Deadpool's finally going to come to the MCU, and what's it going to have? It's going to have Wolverine, and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine at that. So, here we are at a point where there's so much that's coming. And all of those Fox actors have to be given the first right of refusal on those characters before Marvel can recast them. So if that's something they decide to do is refuse, then Marvel will recast them maybe, or, whatever. Or maybe they'll bring them back and then kill them off so they can recast. Who knows? Yeah, I guess who knows what they're going to do, but it'll be interesting to see. And that's one of those things about these movies. And it's one of the things about these shows. And we're getting Armor Wars. That was originally going to be a Disney Plus show. Now it's going to be a full-on movie. And why is that? Chances are maybe we'll see Robert Downey Jr. back as an AI version of Iron Man in that. There's rumors that Ultron's coming back. So to get to hear James Spader doing Ultron again would be kind of cool. And the way that could happen is through Vision. There's even hints of it in Spider-Man Homecoming when Spider-Man's, in that trailer, and he's got that head of Ultron, and the Ultron head still has glowing red eyes. Like, why would that Ultron head still have glowing red eyes if Ultron's gone? They even talk about in that movie, Age of Ultron, if they don't wipe him out from the internet completely, he could come back. Well, rumors he's coming back. Marvel even did a thing on one of their cruises, on one of the Disney cruises, where Captain America and Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel and Ant-Man and I'm trying to remember who else was on it, but there's a video of it online where you can see them on this cruise ship fighting Ultron. And it's, is that they have to come to this cruise ship's rescue to save these people. Like, so it's not like the theory of Ultron maybe coming back ain't there, He was he was one of the main villains of What If season 1. So it's possible. So, with Marvel, when it comes to it, anything's possible. And getting introduced to these new characters only opens us up to more storylines from the comics, more things for them to bring in, and that's stuff they've been really good at. They did it a lot through phases 1, 2, and 3, and they're going to keep doing it. And, we're going to have to say goodbye to some characters. But with the fact that there's a multiverse, that just opens the ability up for them to, it opens the ability up for them to recast those people or bring in someone else, even temporarily. Fantastic Four. There's so many rumors surrounding the Fantastic Four. That's going to be one of the biggest movies when it finally comes out, because people have been itching for Marvel to do it. Not Fox, not whoever, but Marvel. And when Marvel does the Fantastic Four, hopefully we're going to get to see the Fantastic Four the way we've really wanted to see them. And we're going to get to see how all that connects to everything else. Where have they been? Why aren't they being referenced? Who knows? Maybe there'll be a hint of it in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I mean, Kang is a distant relative in the far, far future of Reed Richards, So we may see that yet. It's one of those things that with the upcoming stuff, there's so many what if this, what if that. And of course, we're going to get a what if season 2. So what if all of these things? There's all these possibilities, these grand possibilities that are out there. And Black Panther 2 introduces us to some of these what ifs. And it does it subtly because we've seen, as an example, we've seen Val appear before. She appeared in Black Widow. At the end of Black Widow, she appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And we know that she's probably almost 100% sure she's going to appear in Thunderbolts. And now she's been in Black Panther. There's a good chance she's probably going to be in Secret Invasion in some form because she is the head of the CIA. So if that's the case, there's a character that we're going to get to see and understand why she is what she is and why she's doing what she's doing. And you get to see a little bit of the kind of character she is and how underhanded. She reminds me of those characters from Captain America, the Winter Soldier, who were Hydra sleeper agents just waiting for their moment so they could take over as Hydra inside S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's what she reminds me of, is a character that's secretly biding her time before whatever organization she's working for can take over. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to see come about, and especially in the Thunderbolts. There's a good chance I think we may see it there. Maybe even before that in Secret Invasion. Who knows? Because right now we don't know who's a Skrull and who isn't a Skrull, right? Secret Invasion is going to open our eyes to characters who may or may not be Skrulls, may or may not have been Skrulls this whole time, because you don't know. That's one of the things about Skrulls and shapeshifters. You never know who they're going to be. Deep Space Nine and Star Trek, they did that, long before Marvel did it with the Skrulls. I mean, there's always been Skrulls impersonating people in the Marvel Universe for way back when they were first introduced. But it was Deep Space Nine in the 90s that introduced us to the Founders as people who would infiltrate Starfleet or the Klingon Empire or the Cardassian Empire or whatever. And they would portray these characters or people, and then they would get them, And that's kind of in the comics when they did Secret Invasion. They did that. They had Skrulls impersonating heroes and doing things to screw things up. Well, we're going to get to see that, and it'll be interesting to see Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury going up against these individuals. I mean, we're going to get to see Don Cheadle's War Machine. Well, I don't know if we'll see War Machine, but we are going to see Rhodey. We know that he plays a part in that show. And Don Cheadle himself has even said that he plays a decent part, not necessarily the most significant, but he's in it. And he's in it more than he was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was only that one episode, which is too bad because that's one of the characters that, when Infinity War happened, he disobeyed Secretary Thaddeus Ross. And he looked at Captain America and the other Avengers, and he's like, well, that's a court-martial. So it's like he went from being court-martialed, or thinking he was court-martialed at least, to where at the start of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he wasn't. Now, is that because of the snap and because they still needed people in the military or what? Who knows, right? But maybe some of that will get explored through Secret Invasion and Armor Wars, so we'll get to understand a little bit more about him. We don't know as much about War Machine and Rhodey as we'd like in the MCU. So with that coming up, hopefully we'll get to learn that. And that's one of those things that I think everybody's looking forward to. But that said, Where are you guys at with Black Panther? Did you guys like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Are you looking forward to phase 5? What's your opinion on phase 4? There's so much that can be explained, and there's so much that we can talk about with it. Leave your comments below in the links or whatever. You can even email me at the0hournb@gmail.com. We can talk about it. And maybe even at some point bring it up on the show. But phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, we still got 2 more phases to go. And then, geez, what's going to come after that? Are we going to do phase 7? And what's going to be phase 7? Is that mostly going to be mutants and X-Men and stuff? Because that's what's slowly going to be introduced. I mean, now that Marvel can use the word mutant, they have. They've used it in Ms. Marvel, and now they've used it in Black Panther. And they've even called Namor a mutant. Flat out, that's what he said he was. So, I mean, that goes to show that there have been mutants since at least the 16th century. So if that's the case, has Wolverine been around this whole time? I mean, Wolverine is probably one of the best well-known mutants there is. He's a character who, was born sometime in the 19th century. And in somewhere in Canada, is he this character that's always been around? I guess we're going to find out when they introduce him finally, but who knows when that's going to be. Anyway, don't forget to check out the 0 Hour. Of course, all the previous episodes are up there. I've done so many of these when it comes to the other Marvel shows. I was doing them in order, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk about the rest of the shows, or we're going to do a pattern similar to what I've done before, but this is something new that I'm trying, and it's something new that I think everybody's going to like. So don't forget to check out the rest of the 0 Hour. Don't forget to look us up on superlativestudios.net. That is our new web address, and check out our other stuff. You can see it all there. I will catch you guys for another episode of the 0 Hour. Catch you guys next time.